So, what I plan to do today is to show you double and triple piston extenders, which require sticky pistons, honey blocks, or slime blocks. I use both because they don't stick to each other. It's very convenient. A couple other items, most of which I will come back in here for later. But the premise of double and triple piston extenders is that you have blocks extending more than one block from where they were before. Basically, you'll activate this piston, it will pull the other one up, and then you'll activate this piston to make it go up again. But this is something you have to be careful of, that you don't take blocks apart from what you actually want, because when you bring that back down, it will not be like how it was before. Which is why it's also necessary to grab obsidian. But you actually make these with some interesting timing effects. Because if you need this one to go off first, but really you have to power this piston first. Because if you were to delay this one and have this one go off first, you can see it works fine going up, but when you take it back down, this piston is going to go down again before the other one, and it will not come all the way back down to its level. So instead, you have to make this one actually happen first. And this works because although it's powered, it can't actually activate that one until it gets pushed into place. And I've experimented with this a little bit, although it will almost never work with only one later, but it sometimes does. That's the trouble with inconsistencies of Bedrock. So you can make it 2 ticks later, then it'll work a lot more consistently. But usually, to be safe, I will go 3. But that makes the door a bit slower. So, for peace of mind, you can do this, just for speed. And for a triple piston extender, it gets ever so slightly more complicated, but it is the same general idea. You have repeaters, you have blocks, but since you don't actually want that slime block, or honey block, sticking, you actually have to place obsidian right here. So that one activates, this one activates 2 ticks later, and since we can't quite add 2 ticks, we need an extra repeater here. So now, when you activate it, it will go up a whole 3 blocks before coming back down again. Because again, you activate this top one first, so that they can come down in the right order. And you can use this for doors. The triple piston extender is more unique in its uses. In another video, I might show a place where I used it. But most of the time, what you'll want to do is a double piston extender. And that is what I use on most of my builds. I usually do a simple lock design like this. With the door being here. You don't have to build all of this out of obsidian, just remember that you don't want the slime and honey blocks touching it. And now that I build this, I see that I've done something wrong. You actually need to have blocks on the front of these so it looks cool. then build up the door frame. So although this can take up quite a bit of space, it is a really nice door to have in a big enough base. So I usually start it with this top one, and then go to the bottom one, because the honey and slime blocks will not stick to the repeaters. And while this isn't an upward one, it is the same thing in that you need the second piston firing going off first. And there are some tricky ways that you can get this to work with a floor going here, because if you just place the blocks like this, it would cut off the redstone signal. So if you just make it 2 longer, you can go right under it. And if I can go just like that, using obsidian just as an example here, you can make this look nicer. Really, you only need this line here and around, so the top as well, this line, to be made of obsidian so that it doesn't stick to it. But it is as simple as that. And you can actually do this over the top. I had it over the top in one world, but then lining it up is pretty simple. If you want a button or something similar activating this. And you can adjust this to however you think you need it. But I like to have the button in a nice and easy to reach place. But you can see when I press the button, the door closes. So I'm actually going to need that redstone torch back. And to fix that, you can run your redstone line into a block. I'm actually going to make that one further back just to make sure there are no problems there. And while this redstone torch will be powering the door to keep it closed most of the time, when you press the button, it will now turn that redstone torch off. So, depending on what button you're using, you can now press the button, and get through your door. Now, in Java, there's the T flip-flop. I'm not actually certain if that works in Bedrock, which is the version I play. But now with the new copper bulb, it is much easier to make such a thing. So if I grab just an oxidized copper bulb, you can now, rather than using a redstone torch, use a button and a comparator to detect whether or not this light is on. Wrong way. So now, if you press that button, or now we can put a button on the inside. We'll use pick block. I highly recommend using that. You can now press the button from either side just once, and it will open or close. And it's as simple as that. So this is actually blocking something right now. If you wanted to put a wall here, this is something else that will probably need to be obsidian, so those don't grab it on the way out. But otherwise, you can make this into a full tunnel and have your walls go out here. but that's all up to you. For now, that is a pretty simple 3x3 door. Now, the use of honey and slime blocks is pretty generous here if you're building in a survival world, as I usually do. But honey farms are actually not that hard to set up once you get a look at them. Don't mind that, it's built from another day. So, now you know how to build double and triple piston extenders. Thank you for watching.